Alright guys, welcome to Gawgia. I told you guys that we were going to get back into cooking, and that's what we're going to do today. So we're going to do my version of deviled eggs. I call them Cajun deviled eggs. There's a little bit of a difference. So to start off with, what you want is a rolling boil. Just because you see 2 or 3 bubbles does not mean that's a rolling boil. You want the water turned over and over. And to make deviled eggs, we're going to do probably 24, so you only need 12 eggs, because 1 egg equals 2 deviled eggs. And everybody worries about peeling eggs. Well, my go-to that I never have problems with is salt your water and a little bit of vinegar. Now, to me, it doesn't really matter. This is a white wine vinegar. You can use distilled vinegar. I wouldn't use balsamic, but just a little bit of vinegar, and those are going to jump out of them shells real quick. But again, you can use distilled vinegar, white wine vinegar, just some kind of vinegar, and that will help. Once you've got a rolling boil, you don't want to just drop the eggs in there. That's not good. You want to set them on a spoon and gently set the eggs in. Now, this is a bit time consuming, I know. But if you just drop them in there, cold eggs, boiling water, they're going to break. And that's not what you want. You want a good deviled egg to keep the white in its shape. So you just put them in there one at a time. Now, if one breaks, it's not the end of the world. And a good tidbit would be always make a few extra. So if you're aiming for 20, I would do 24. That way, if you have a few mess ups, 1, you can taste test for yourself before you serve. And 2, if 1 egg breaks, then you've got backups. So, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 more. And the other part of what you want to do is let them boil. Here's a good spot. If one starts floating when you put it in there, it's a bad egg. Don't use that. So that one started floating in the water, that's a bad egg. We're not going to use it. So we'll substitute in 1 more. And we've got 12. So the next thing you need to know is the time. I do it boiling for 11 minutes, and then we cut off the heat and put cold water immediately over the eggs. So let's do the 11 minutes. All right, guys, so boiled, and then you run cold water over them. Now, here's another secret with deviled eggs. When you run the cold water in there, put about 3/4 of the way in cold water back in there. What you're going to do is you're going to take them out, and the eggs still might be warm. That's okay. And just crack, and you'll feel it. Don't do it hard, but you'll just feel it. And then you break the shell around the egg all the way. And when you get there, it'll peel off right like that. And then there's a membrane. When you get that membrane, it'll peel the whole shell off for you. But if you miss a shell, and the reason you keep water in the boiler is that you put the egg, once it's peeled, back in the water, that rinses all of the outside of the egg off. So here's a time lapse of me doing all 12 eggs. Alright, so the eggs are out of their shells. So the next thing, get your glass bowl, and if you don't have a fancy Tupperware piece like this that's egg shaped, you can do it on a regular plate and regular Tupperware. I like to serve them best cold, so that's why I go ahead and put them in the Tupperware so I can put the top on it so they don't dry out in the fridge, and I let them chill for about 90 minutes. But you want to just, a plain old butter knife should be sufficient. If you want to use a regular knife, you can. Just go straight down the middle, there's a yolk. And right there in the middle, you've got soft yolk. If you've got gray on the outside of your yolk, you're cooking them too long. That's what happens. So just in case, and that's okay. The gray it's not bad for you. You can still make deviled eggs. It's fine. But if that happens, they get a little too hard boiled. And that's what's going on. So I like to shoot for 11 minutes. It works from medium to extra large eggs. And then another time lapse of me doing this right here. All you gotta do is cut it in half and the yolk should pop right out. Then you have the cavity where you're gonna put your filling to make the deviled eggs. And I know everybody's going, oh, you're using your fingers, use your fingers. Biggest thing ever when you're cooking is have a towel on you. Wash your hands frequently, but it's okay to be tactile and touch the food. If your hands are clean, it's fine. I promise you. Just wash your hands. Especially if you're doing multiple things and you touch raw meat. Every time you touch raw meat, no matter what happens, go wash your hands. But like doing this right here, it's okay. And we're gonna eat the eggs, so it's all right. Don't worry about it. Alright guys, so told you to make an extra. Here is my extra. This is the one that stuck just a little bit. So if you don't have the fancy Tupperware, you can still cut it in half right like that. And to get it to stay on a plate, you're just going to shave a little bit of the white off and it creates a flat surface. So that way when you set it there, it stays set up. You can also take that white, not to waste it, and put it in the mix. It's an egg mix. And then if you've got one like this that's just a little messed up, you can just shave that into the mix. It's not going to hurt it at all because you're about to mush all of that together. But this one, because it's got a flat surface, that'll be my tester. So here is where I start to differentiate my deviled eggs from everybody else's. This is done. The water worked. You can hear it. The water worked. It's probably noisy, isn't it? There. The water worked, rinsed off everything, and got you to this point. I'm never one to use a bunch of fancy things, so just get a fork and mash all the yolks together. Break them down, and when they're soft like that, it's a lot easier than a hard-boiled yolk. And that egg white that we threw in there will mush together just as well. So it is perfectly fine. Just use a fork. It'll mush everything until you get to a broken down consistency, kind of like that. You want to get all of them. So, first things first, season everything like Gordon Ramsay says. A little bit of salt and pepper. But don't go crazy with the salt because other ingredients have salt in them. You don't want them to be too salty. So there's that. Now here's what separates mine. The secret concoction. This is my version of an Alabama white sauce. So we call it Alabama white sauce. It's a barbecue sauce, but it is mayonnaise based. And for anybody that makes deviled eggs or you see a traditional deviled egg recipe, it is mayonnaise based. But my version of Alabama white sauce is red wine vinegar, spices that I'm not going to share, a little bit of mustard, some Creole mustard, and some yellow mustard, and the mayonnaise base itself. Mix that all together, let it sit. I like mine a bit creamier, so I don't add as much regular liquid. But when you put this in, I'm going to use about half this, you can smoke it with a little bit of liquid smoke if you would like, or very, very low temperature. Like if you're on, you don't want to cook the mayonnaise, that's bad. But if you just want to perfume it with smoke for like 10 minutes, works out great. And then whatever you don't have there, You'll need a little bit of yellow mustard. Whatever kind of mustard you like. If you like spicy mustard, that's fine. I don't like mine as spicy. But not a lot of mustard. And then you're just going to mix that up until you get to a consistency that you like. I like a little bit thicker consistency. I don't like the filling to be super runny, but I can already tell this isn't enough. And if you haven't used Alabama white sauce, I like to call it dog spit when I make it, just cut it with mayonnaise. Don't overdo it with the sauce, because then that's all they're going to taste. You're not going to get any of the regular egg. So cut it, and you can always add more, but you can't take it out. So go increments at a time, and it may be time consuming, it may take you a little bit, but that's okay. One, cooking is fun. And I remember times with my grandmother in the kitchen, we would cook Thanksgiving. I remember times with my mom in the kitchen, we would cook like Christmas, Easter. Easter was a big one. And we would spend a lot of time in the kitchen cooking. Like I said, you can add a little bit more. I like just a little bit more creamy consistency to it. And then you just mix it. And I'm pretty solid on that. I like that consistency. It works for me. And to get everything off the sides of a fork, everything off, always get you a spatula, a rubber spatula. I've heard it called a spoonula forever. Get one of those and get everything off the sides and fold it in. That gets the sauce off the spatula that you use. That gets it off the sides of the bowl. That lets everything in there. Oh no! Gawgia forgot something. He'll be right back. The other part of why I like that consistency, now this is a big topic of debate, but relish. I like dill relish. You can use sweet relish, or if you don't like pickles, like my dad, you don't use any relish. This would be fine to go in there right now. But the reason I like this consistency is I like relish. So I'm going to add this in there, and it adds a bit more liquid. And when you mix this in, it's going to make it a little bit more creamier. That, for 12, should work. Again, I'll say it and I'll say it again. You can always add more, but you can't take it away. That's with salt, that's with condiments, that's with any additives. But the vinegar in the Alabama white sauce and the vinegar in the pickles, I think it gives it a great briny flavor to the eggs. And that's what you want. So when you fold everything in, and get it off the sides, that's what you got right there. So then, fairly easy, clear everything off, wipe it down again, grab you an old spoon, get it off the spatula, and then just start filling. And it should easily fall right in the shell. So, one more time lapse for you. Alright guys, so filled in. Now, we're not wasting all that's left in that glass bowl. You're going to go around the sides, and you've got enough there for a one slice egg salad sandwich as a snack when you're cooking in the kitchen. Always taste test. And now, the other thing that's traditional is paprika on deviled eggs. I'm not one of those guys. Again, I told you this was a Cajun recipe. I like New Orleans Cajun seasoning. I know Cajun two-step. Those are out there. You've got a couple other YouTubers that have a Cajun seasoning. So if you want those, or if you have those, use whatever you got in the pantry. And then it's just a tap. 2 taps. And if somebody is allergic to peppers, you leave however many per. So 3, 4, right on out. You can also put a little bit of parsley over there, some seasoning salt, some paprika, whatever you feel. Make it your own. This recipe calls for Cajun. But that's pretty much it, guys. And you know me, I said we've got extras. So, taste test. Those are really good, and they're going to be even better cold. So, that's it, guys. That is my Cajun deviled egg recipe. If you want the recipe for Alabama white sauce, there's plenty of them on there. If you see something that needs other kind of vinegar, I use the red wine vinegar when I make mine. So check that out, and we will see y'all next time. But Fam Jam, always get in the kitchen, have fun, and we will see y'all next time. But until then, I'm out.